For further clarification about this turning point in numismatics, let's consider for a second the Smithsonian Institution, which, by the way, just celebrated its 165th anniversary last week. It's the world's largest cultural institution. It's been called the Treasure House of Knowledge for more than a century. That's our moniker. That's a really good reputation to have. Or right now, I think it was a really good reputation to have. The reason for this is market research tells us that while we're still a really respected institution, people are not so sure about what we do. So that, therein lies part of the crux of this matter. And the Smithsonian is not alone in this regard. Museums across the globe are grappling with an identity crisis of sorts. In a world with expanding populations of digital natives, and that's the kids that were born since the 1980s, the first generation we called X, we called the next generation Y, and we're currently on the Z generation. So for all these kids who were born in a digitally connected world, any kind of experience is possible and access to information is really easy. So it becomes more and more imperative that we distinguish, we the keepers of tradition, the protectors of the old school, objects that I love, that I know that you love, and direct physical contact in the world. It's our job to tell the digital natives what this physical world has to offer. So one thing that I find particularly flummoxing, even as I walk through the museum, is the behavior, and you've seen this, but people so fixated on getting the perfect digital picture of an object that they don't actually take their head from behind the camera to look at the real thing. Sociologists call this behavior mediated reality, and we live through many different kinds of mediated realities. I think that's our wake-up call, which brings me back to the turning point for numismatics. Because everyone attending this convention, assuming you weren't dragged here by somebody else, we're all here because we want to be close to real things. We want to be close to the stuff, and we even want to be close to the people who love the stuff. Why? Because we believe that there's something genuine, special, and really authentic for us physically here in this real place. And we want to be in the presence of other people who love the same thing we do. The physical world is our preferred immersion environment. And for us, there's no killer iPhone app that comes close to this experience. But we now have evidence, pretty compelling evidence, as a matter of fact, that's been collected for the last 20 or 25 years, that suggests that the future generation of numismatic enthusiasts may be more interested in virtual culture than material culture, in mediated reality than in direct experience. This begs the question, why do collections matter anyway? And how can collection-based professions and hobbies like the one we love attract the interest of digital natives? I think it's our job to engage them in real-world explorations, and it's our job to offer an alternative to this 24-hour, day-a-week diet of digital experience that they have been consuming. And like I said, museums around the world are grappling with this. So what have we learned as we've been grappling with this topic? First, it's important to recognize that our sphere of influence is shifting. We used to have this idea, especially in museums, of build it and they will come. And that mindset about the power, the intrinsic power of museum collections to attract the public needs to change because our sphere of influence has shifted. We now realize, or we need to anyway, that once we leave this room and the people who share our interest, we're in a world full of people who are younger than us that don't get it. And what they don't get isn't that they can't love coins or things numismatic, but they almost don't get why the physical world is better than a picture on the internet. So we need to keep demonstrating for them why, whether it's modern or ancient, precious or common, coins, currency, or other physical collections of any topic, it's worth the effort to experience these things in the real world. And it's not a matter of either or. Our new strategy needs to include the digital and the dogmatic, the virtual and the venerable. And for a really interesting example of this, I want to jump to the euro, because I thought, well, this actually brings it together in kind of a neat way. It's not a doom and gloom story. So about 7 years after the euro was introduced, they launched a massive study to determine whether the designs on the distinct country coins were worth keeping. They wanted to know whether they were recognized, appreciated, and added value to the euro as a new thing that had, a relatively new thing that had just been launched in the Eurozone. The unique design seemed like a really good idea when they launched the coin, but they're expensive to make and it would simplify production if they could get rid of it. So they talked to, I think more than 100,000 people, and across the board, the response was that people from different Eurozone nations did recognize and appreciate the design. But here's the interesting thing. People under the age of 55 didn't say, I'm from Finland. I like it that the world is learning something about Finnish culture from the design of the unique design of the Finnish coin. What they actually said was, no, the different designs show cultural diversity of Eurozone members. So for me, this is, is this a shift in nationalism? Is the internet helping people? What role is technology playing in how people are differentiating the coins? But the bottom line is the distinct designs matter, and now they're going to keep them.